Now, in Corpus Christi, Texas, a 2-year-old boy shot himself dead with his father's gun. And the name of the father is 22-year-old Eric Morales. Now, the father was arrested for negligent homicide. I guess because he left the firearm on the kitchen. He left the loaded firearm on the kitchen table, so where it was accessible to the child. So I guess they consider him to be responsible for the child's death. So this shooting, this boy shot himself on April 2nd, 2017, Sunday, April 2nd, 2017. And I've said this before, that I think I said in some other video that that it's dangerous for people to have guns around when they have small children, because the children can get their hands on the guns and shoot themselves or shoot other people, shoot their siblings, shoot their parents, whoever. And now this is because the thing is with little children have a tendency to get into everything, to get into all your stuff. If children are around, they can climb up on shelves, get things off shelves, go in drawers, do all kinds of stuff, go in closets, wherever you want to put stuff. There's a possibility that children can get into it. That's kind of what children tend to do. And this is not the first case that I've heard of toddlers shooting themselves with their parents' guns, or with some guns that someone else owned, some older family member owned. There was a case in somewhere in the United States, I can't remember where a kid, I think, took a gun out of his mother's purse and shot his mother, I think. There's been cases where older children have taken guns to school. There was a case in Canada where there was a boy, a teenage boy who had an illegal firearm that I guess he was keeping for someone else, and his little brother got his hands on the gun and shot himself, killed himself. And so I knew this happened before. I knew there was that danger, just common sense, that if small children get their hands on guns, they can shoot themselves. However, when I searched for this, I heard about this case in Texas where the 2-year-old shot himself. So I went and searched for that on the internet. And what happened was there was a whole bunch of other results popped up about other cases of children shooting themselves, small children, toddlers shooting themselves with guns. So basically what I realized from reading some of these articles or looking at all these cases that popped up in the search results, is that this toddlers shooting themselves or shooting other people with guns is fairly common in the United States. So, for example, on the same day that the 2-year-old boy shot himself dead in Corpus Christi, Texas, on Sunday, April 2nd, 2017, a 4-year-old shot himself non-fatally with his mother's gun in Milwaukee. And in this case, in Milwaukee, the mother of the 4-year-old who owned the gun was also arrested for negligence. I guess they said she left the gun somewhere where it was accessible to the 4-year-old child. And they didn't release the names of the mother in Milwaukee or the child in the Milwaukee incident. But that's not the incident. So on the same day, you had 2 children in different parts of the United States shooting themselves on the same day. And these are not isolated incidents, because there are more search results that popped up. So, on March 25th, 2017, there was a 2-year-old who shot himself in High Point, North Carolina. Before that, on December 23rd, 2016, there was a 2-year-old who shot and killed himself in Cleveland, Ohio. And this 2-year-old's father, so the 2-year-old shot himself with his father's gun. His father, 54-year-old Jose Pedro, was a 23-year veteran of the Cleveland Police Department. And I'm guessing that in this case in Cleveland, they're not going to arrest the father because he's a police officer, and police officers don't usually get arrested for crimes. So I'm guessing that the father in that particular case did not get arrested for negligence like the parents in Texas and Milwaukee did. There are a whole bunch of other cases as well. In 2015, 265 people were shot by toddlers. In October 2016, an 18-month-old boy was accidentally shot in Georgia, and that they didn't know who shot the child, whether the 18-month-year-old boy shot himself, or if he was shot by his 3-year-old brother. There were 7 toddler shootings in April 2016. 5 of them were fatal, including a 2-year-old Indiana boy who shot himself with a gun left by his mother in her purse on the counter, and a 1-year-old girl in Missouri who shot herself with her father's gun. Now, in another case, 31-year-old gun advocate Jamie Gilt was shot by her 4-year-old son hours after she boasted on Facebook that her son, quote, gets jacked up to target shoot. And then the boy shot the mother in the back. Now, between January 2015 and May 2016, there were at least 23 people shot by toddlers. Or, no, wait a second. I think, yeah, okay. I think, well, no, from January to May 2016, at least 23 people were shot by toddlers. And the states where this happened the most often were Georgia. First was Georgia with 8 toddler shootings. And tied for second place were Texas and Missouri, which each had 7 toddler shootings. Tied for third place were Florida and Michigan, which each had 6 toddler shootings. So this kind of stuff is fairly common in the United States. It seems like it happens, I guess, every few days at least, where there's people getting shot by toddlers in the United States, whether fatally or non-fatally. Sometimes they shoot themselves and kill themselves. Sometimes they kill their parents or shoot their parents. Sometimes siblings or their family members. So it's dangerous for people to have guns that toddlers have access to. Now, basically, the purpose of guns, the stated purpose of legal firearms in rural areas a lot of times is hunting or protection from wildlife, particularly with things like rifles and those kinds of things. Now, in urban areas in the United States, is the stated purpose of firearm ownership in many cases is self-defense, because particularly with handguns. So basically defending from protection from other people, as opposed to protection from wild animals or hunting animals. So in some cases people do use firearms for their stated purpose, self-defense, and you could see these cases. You can read the cases in the newspaper, and you see them in the media. I'm sure I could search on the internet and find a whole bunch of these, or search some newspaper, some news site, and find a whole bunch of these cases where people use use their legal firearms to defend themselves from burglaries, home invasions, robberies. You have cases where, say, a store owner shoots an armed robber and kills them, or a homeowner shoots a burglar and kills a burglar. So you do have those kinds of cases, but a lot of times you have these other cases where legal firearms end up killing the owners of the firearms, or family members of the owners of the firearms. Sometimes you have domestic violence incidents where you have people shooting, say a husband shooting his wife with a legal firearm. There's a lot of suicides. Suicides are not actually usually reported in the media, but they're fairly common. You have, in fact, statistically, gun owners, or say male white gun owners, are more likely to be killed with their own legal firearms than they are to be killed by criminals in the United States. So suicides are very common, and then of course you have these toddler shootings, which are also relatively common. I'm guessing they're a little less common than suicides, but these toddler shootings are still fairly common, happens every few days in the United States. And so if people have guns in their house and they have small children, they should probably be keeping the guns locked up, having them in some type of place with a lock and key where small children can't get into it. Because if they leave loaded guns around where children can get access to them, then the type of things that you see in the media happening on a relatively regular basis, like in Corpus Christi, Texas, and Ohio, Milwaukee, and Georgia, and so on and so forth. All these incidents that have been reported in the media of these 1, 2, 3, 4-year-old children getting their hands on firearms, shooting themselves, shooting their parents, shooting their siblings. If people don't secure their guns properly, that's what could happen if they have children around.